Bitcoin on the short-term charts setting up what is likely to be a very volatile day for Bitcoin. The hours ahead, very important for Bitcoin. In this video, we're going to dive into all of the Bitcoin charts to show you exactly what you need to be prepared for. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way in. I appreciate you cruising by. Let's jump into the Bitcoin video. This is the hourly chart. Everybody's glued to the screens on Bitcoin, wondering, is Bitcoin's next move through 60,000, or are we getting ready to retrace? And it's 50-50 split if you just look across market sentiment. And I want to break down the scenarios. This is it. Now is time to formulate your strategy. Not to find the exact prediction, nobody knows that, but to formulate your strategy in this very moment. Let's dive in. This is an hourly chart, and I'm going to break down exactly what I think is going on here. But before we do, I want to zoom out. Very important to zoom out on the charts to remind you where we are. We are at the beginning of a bull market cycle. Bitcoin broke these bull market doors. Did a macro video yesterday, very similar to breaking the bull market doors last cycle. What I want to note, and I know I've talked about this a lot in the last week or so, but if you're new to this channel, this is from Glassnode. All-time high. There are now more than 94,000 Bitcoin addresses holding at least $1 million worth of Bitcoin. The steep increase in mid-December marks the point when Bitcoin crossed 20,000, making all early miner addresses millionaire addresses. It's a ridiculous chart. You can see it. But paired with that, while the number of Bitcoin whales has increased partly because the price of cryptocurrency has been surging, whales have also been accumulating Bitcoin. As research from data analytics platform WhaleMap has spotted that addresses holding between 1,000 and 10,000 Bitcoin have been growing. And this is the chart. So I really want to show you this macro chart. This is fundamentally so important when we're analyzing the micro zoomed in hourly charts. So here's Bitcoin, this arrow you see going up. This is Bitcoin addresses holding more than 1,000 Bitcoin rising in the current bull market. And you see the price of Bitcoin rising. Now, right back here is Bitcoin declining going into the last bull market high. The number of addresses that are holding more than 1,000 declining going into the last bull market high. So that is fundamentally one of the most important things that we need to look at, because Bitcoin right now is being accumulated above $50,000 in a parabolic way. And so that shows us in terms of this macro cycle, and we say a lot, Bitcoin bull market just getting started, it shows us that is just true. And the demand is there. And the supply shock is happening before our eyes because of the limited supply of Bitcoin. Now let's start digging into the charts. This is a daily chart for Bitcoin. Now, if we look at the daily chart, and we're actually on this hourly chart here, we're going to talk about a potential short-term dip and what that looks like. But going back to the daily, one thing I want to talk about. I often talk about, probably over the years now on this channel, this blue ocean. This is the 50-day moving average. We talk about Bitcoin revisiting that area in a bull market even, and testing that area. And so far, it has just been true for Bitcoin. Ever since we entered the bull market, right here, this is that November area, Bitcoin entering the bull market from a technical analysis perspective, Bitcoin consolidating towards that 50-day moving average, and we got our first pullback to the 50-day moving average in January, and it was a big pullback. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because there's a lot of people talking about there are not Bitcoin dips. If you're talking about a Bitcoin dip, you're bearish. If you're talking about a Bitcoin dip, you don't understand. Bitcoin's being scooped up. And it's true, Bitcoin is being scooped up. But just 1 month ago, a little over a month ago, a huge dip began, right? We had an initial 28% dip, which happened in a matter of days. And then going into that 50-day moving average, this kind of drug out to around a 30% dip from beginning of January to the end of January. This just was happening a month ago. And Bitcoin touched that 50-day moving average perfectly, as we would want to see in a bull market. So continuing into this bull market, you always want to anticipate a similar move, right? In these swing highs that Bitcoin has. And here we are in a daily chart with a swing high, 57,000, Bitcoin looking good. Let me just point out the 50-day moving average, and it's not a scenario I don't think where Bitcoin's just going to tank to the 50-day moving average in a day and we're going to get a 30% drop in a day, but we could trickle into it, right? 27% dip, in the next few weeks. It could start now. There's that scenario. I'm not saying that I think it's going to happen, but plan your strategy for Bitcoin accumulation. And if you're a long-term investor especially, plan your strategy around that perspective. You have to. If you're not doing that, you're kind of walking blind in these markets. So stepping away from that potential retrace, which is potentially on the charts, ready to happen at any time, I want to just go to the RSI and just show you Bitcoin is in overbought territory. However, on this daily chart, you can just see it's just been consolidating with kind of this support above the overbought line. And then we just got this recent, in like the last 4 days, recent bounce off of that overbought line. And we're seeing some higher highs and higher lows. There's potential now for continuation. It's just been a story of higher highs and higher lows on this Bitcoin chart really since we broke $10,000. So let's explore that. Let's dive into the 6 hour. This is what has transpired. Bitcoin has just broken so many targets, so much resistance really since January. And that's even including this 30% dip we just talked about for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has just consolidated and continued to put in higher highs and higher lows. And so as we start zooming in here, now we're in the 6 hour, we see all of these targets recently just hit, right? Bitcoin hit that $51,000 target. We hit the $55,000 target very recently. And then we have this new pattern Bitcoin broke out of. It's a $58,000 target, which Bitcoin right now, as I do this video, is, it's $300 away from hitting the $58,000 target for Bitcoin out of this rising wedge that you see on the screen. So in terms of the rising wedge, in the very short term, always look at trend lines, right? We broke out of it. Always look for potential support support at the Fibonacci support area. And what I want to do is I just want to chart very briefly this Fibonacci where we left the trend line, that brief swing low, to right now our swing high for Bitcoin, and right confluent with that upper trend line, or lower trend line actually I should say, is this Fibonacci support area, this 618 to 786. We're talking $52,200 to around 53,000. Short term, that's a potential higher low for Bitcoin. If we see resistance in the very short term, and this could happen as I'm doing this video, this entire chart is kind of up for grabs right now in terms of Bitcoin. But short term, I wanted to lay that support area out. But now, how about breakout targets to the upside? How about $60,000? How about Bitcoin continuing now with even more higher highs and more all-time highs? And right now, Bitcoin, as I do this video, actually, $57,800, pretty much testing an all-time high from just, that looks like 8 hours ago or so. So let's see what Bitcoin does in this very hourly candle. There's around 22 minutes. It'll be happening and closing while I'm doing this video and uploading this video. And Bitcoin just broke an all-time high as I'm doing this video, I believe, probably by like just a couple dollars. But let's chart this. And there it is. And this is what you need to be prepared for. This is what you need to strategize around, these scenarios. Now, this ascending triangle, and this is a very zoomed in hourly chart, everybody, and take it for what it's worth. This is what I see. I see resistance at this $57,000, mid $57,000 area over and over again. Even most recently, kind of Bitcoin's just grappling with this area. I see an upper trend line resistance, and Bitcoin on this hourly chart, very curious to see if we can get some separation. And I just see, very simply, some higher lows for Bitcoin. An ascending triangle. It's never charted perfectly. Sometimes, it really works out really well from a visual perspective, but it's the story that's being told. And there's been a story of resistance since yesterday on this hourly chart, right around this mid $57,000 area and these higher lows. Now, breakout targets, very simple. This is the case for Bitcoin to break through $60,000 to the upside. It could happen in the hours ahead. But likewise, if we get continued resistance in this range, 57 to 58,000, Bitcoin can very well fail through the lower trend line of this ascending triangle, and we have a target to the downside around $53,000. If we go back to this chart, where was our support in terms of the Fibonacci retracement? The 618 around $53,000. That is the case for a short-term consolidation move to the downside. What that looks like from where Bitcoin is right now could be around a 7 to 10% move to test this higher low area. What happens in those 6-hour candles, the hourly candles? Does Bitcoin get scooped up quick, and do we get a nice little bounce in this area for a continuation to the upside to 60,000? But this is the chart I'm watching on the hourly chart, but I can't stress enough, everybody, the importance to zoom out and to look at fundamentally what's happening just in terms of Bitcoin cycles, where we are in this cycle, but also in terms of who's accumulating Bitcoin above $50,000. And the answer is a lot of people. There's a supply shock happening, and don't forget it when you're looking at these hourly charts. So that's my update for today. Let's see what Bitcoin does. If it does a crazy move in the hours ahead, which I'm thinking it's going to make a move in the hours ahead, I'll do an update a little bit later, maybe tonight. I hope you're having a great day. Hit that subscribe, hit that like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.